I remember smoking DMT first time. I was scared to death to do it. Man, I was so scared. I prayed, oh my gosh, I went to this different dimension. I was scared, man. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was petrified of it. If I never come back from this, my inner voice was like, get ready for the ride of your life.
This is exclusive for me, by the way. Tell this. I'm going to talk about this.
Tell it all.
I'm very hesitant to say this, but I've done DMT. Ended up doing the DMT on the first time I done it.
You woke up naked?
Straight out the left. Cody, no love, my friend. Thank you so much. Normally I have like an intro. Straight out the lead, joined today by former UFC champion who is on the trajectory to getting that belt back. Cody, no love, welcome to the show, my friend.
Man, I'm glad to be here. 2 years in the making. We see each other a lot. Hey, let's get on the podcast.
I know.
Text sometimes, but hey, you know how busy life is, and
I know.
You know, especially with children. Like you said, you're at the daddy daycare today, and we made it work. We're here a little later than, like you said, you usually film your podcast, but we're here. We're making it happen.
And we've locked it in, yeah. And I appreciate you, mate, chasing me as much as I don't think we've really chased each other. It's been like, hey, we need to do the podcast. Next thing, something else happens. Then I'm out of town. Like, hey, bro, I'm in town this week. And it's like two passing ships. Yeah. But we're finally on, my man. So thank you very much for jumping in. I know we're a couple of weeks away from your next fight, Figueiredo, ex-UFC champ. That's going to be a big fight for you. Great fight for you. As my bloody phone is ringing, totally unprofessional, yeah? Sorry, my man.
Oh, good. Yeah, but, amazing opportunity. You know, former world champion. Going head-to-head in UFC 300, big card. You know, we're opening up at the card. We're the first fight of the night. So, you know, fans get there early, and, you know, we'll start off with an entertaining fight.
Yeah, that's a big card, one that is being and sold out, being promoted to the highest. Again, to see you now back on the chase, that hunger, that, you know, I know you and I obviously have a personal relationship, but for me to see the climb you've had, the story you've had, and so many different chapters, and now on this title run again. What are some of the things that you've learned now in this last couple of years compared to the last chase for the title?
You know, I think what's different from my first rise to being a world champion and this rise now that I'm back on, just experience, you know, within life, but also the career. You know, I was 23 years old when I got in the UFC, and then I won the world title under 2 years in the UFC. So, you know, 5 fights in, I was in the UFC, and then I became world champion. I had 11 professional fights. You know, so the experience, you know, learning a lot about the business as well. That's a huge different, you know, I just wanted to, at the end of the day, I'm a fighter. We just want to fight. You know, that's what I was just so focused on. But being able to balance that, you know, being able to balance, you know, things that come with the lifestyle or comes with being a champion or a former champion. And obviously, you know, things along the way, I became a father, you know, to my son Kai. He's about to turn 6 in 2 weeks. So, you know, just finding the balance of, you know, not looking so far ahead, like what's next, you know. I think when I lost the world championship, that I was constantly like, I gotta get it back, you know, and not overlooking any fight, but looking back like, oh, I win this fight, I'm gonna fight back for the title, you know. So I was overlooking it per se, because I was like, hey, one more fight, you know. The UFC's like, hey, win this fight, you're fighting for the title. So trying to just live more in the present, you know, be more grounded, be more just present with everything. I think that, you know, for us it's a lot of, you know, we're judged off of wins and losses. You know, it's either winning the fight or you're losing the fight. So we fixate on, you know, oh, we got to win, or what comes with the loss. So just being present with, hey, the daily grind, being consistent with your work, you know, your whatever you need to help outside of the, you know, career, but also the mentality, you know, having those values, finding those values too, and that helps out with balancing. You can't be just a fighter all day.
Yeah.
You know, you have to, you know, go home. You're a father. Have so many different hats you have to wear. So just finding the balance with that has helped out where I'm at. Another thing is life experience.
Yeah. And prior to your son being born, it was just you and your team, right? It was a self-purpose to win the belt. Yeah.
Wild boys. That's what I gotta say. I mean, 23, 24, 25 years, you know, 23 to 25, you know, living in Sacramento with Team Alpha Male and just chasing the dream that you're one of the baddest dudes in the planet. It's fun. It was just like, every day was just wake up, go train, enjoy life. Uriah was such a good mentor with that. He said that, everyone has the same hours in the day. It's like, what do you do with that? It's like, hey, if you want to go, he'd always would say this. He's like, don't miss practice. Schedule things around practice. Like, make sure you show up on time. Be here. Don't miss practice. Because if you want to go on the end of the day and you already did your training sessions and just hang out, drink a beer, and beat off, then you do that outside of training. That's what he always would tell us. At the end of the group training and stuff. And we're just all kind of looking at him like, man, I don't think I've ever just sat down, cracked a cold one over, and just beat off. But he would always say that. I'm like, man, so maybe smoke a joint and do that, but not a crack a cold one. But he was always talking and preaching to us. Something that I always listened to after training session. Like just little things about being a martial artist. I didn't grow up in a dojo. I didn't grow up in jiu-jitsu. I grew up wrestling. I grew up boxing. There's not, those are disciplinaries of martial arts, but they're not, you don't have a belt rank. You don't bow to your sensei, any of that stuff. It's not a dojo, like I said. Nothing wrong with those. I think they all have great values and add so much to people's life and what they can, gain with the belt ranking and having that. But for us, we just grew up different. It's a different sport. But a lot of those guys came from that kind of background. So he would preach to us and teach us like, hey, be a martial artist, live the martial arts lifestyle. That's sleeping, eating, training right. So when I was out there, I really, took me under his wing. He was one of the greatest bantamweights and featherweights for so long. And the team that he built and everyone that just kind of went together and, became amazing fighters. When I went out there, we had so many top guys: Chad Mendez, TJ Dillashaw, Danny Castillo, Joe Benavidez. I mean, the list goes on and on. Andre Feely, Chris Holdsworth, Lance Palmer, all these guys. I mean, it was just, the room was Danny Castillo. It was, all these guys were like the guys that I grew up watching, the WC, the UFC, Strike Force, King of the Cage, so it was great to go out there and chase that dream. It's, 22 years old when I went out there.
Wow, 22. Yeah. And you're surrounded with, again, all them savages, featherweight, bantamweight, kind of the best of the best. Yes. Truly sharpened your sword.
Yeah, I was a big fish in a small pond before going to alpha male. So like, how great can you be? How great are you? When you're going with guys that might not be at that level. Not that they weren't that. I had a lot of good training partners when I was in Pittsburgh and Cleveland and in Ohio. But as the cream of the crop was out at Team Alpha Male for the lighter weight guys. So I had to go out there and test myself. That's was like my ultimate goal. Like I remember tweeting to Uriah about, one day I'm going to make it out to the gym. And he like tweeted me back and I was like, oh, that's cool. He's like, I'm going to check out some of your fights. And it wasn't until 4 or 5 years later that I made it out there.
Wow.
So yeah. He remembers that. Remember that tweet? He's like, yeah, I remember watching. Because I had like 3 amateur fights, posted up on YouTube off a shitty ass cell phone, from your friend, drunk, yelling stupid shit,
all over the place.
Elbows,
fuck him up. Stand up. Use the other hand.
It's like, yeah, you can't use elbows in amateur, and everyone just elbow. I'm like, dude, come on.
I know. Take us back to that time. I want to, obviously, we got so many different things and so many different topics I want to talk about, but since we're on the topic of you going to Alpha Male, 22 years old, because when I came to the United States, I was first 19 and I came back at 21. And big fish, small pond. I'd won everything as an amateur. I came over here, nobody gave a shit. But walking into the gym, I had to earn my stripes. And I trained with the best to get that respect. So take us back to a 22-year-old Cody, moving from Ohio, Pittsburgh, to then coming to Sacramento, and obviously all the changes that comes with it.
Yeah, it was the excitement, and I was always, growing up, I hated change. Like, I thought change in a negative way. Like, I would come home from school, my mom would have the whole house reorganized, the couch flipped around, and I would literally physically couldn't be in that room. I would get sick because of change. I didn't like it. I liked the things the way they were. If anything changed like that, it physically made me sick ever since I can remember. But this was different. Like when I moved out there, it was the uncertainty of, what was going to happen, but I went out there for a reason. First to test the show, test myself against the best. And I remember when I first went out to that room and just opened up the gym doors and just the energy you felt from that. It's like, wow, these dudes are getting after it. Like, this is what I need to do. And I came from, you know, a gym that was in a horse barn, you know, kerosene and heaters in the cold. Like, we just hit pads. And luckily I had my uncle that taught me boxing. Had a good, you know, wrestling background, growing up wrestling in Ohio in a very tough state. Wrestling was life for us. We traveled around every weekend. Luckily our mother let us, go and wrestle and do that. And me and my brother both excelled at that. But going there and learning like how to train properly, trying to train as a martial arts, like, oh, okay, we're doing punches, the fit-ins, the takedowns, the work back up, like drilling. I'm like, oh, well, I was just used to hitting pads, bag work, and sparring. And a lot of the times a lot of the guys I sparred with boxers, so they didn't really want to kick. So we're like, all right, well, let's do boxing with takedowns. So we just dumped the boxers on the head, pissing and back up, and then we'd box rounds. So going out there and really learning how to put your full tool sets, your tools together and train. I mean, Alpha Male was great at that. And I've been around so many different gyms. I mean, the structure that they have out there in the system of just like, every day was 9 o'clock pro practice. I like that because I'm up early, ready to go. Like by 9 to 10:30, 11, you're done with your practice. You have lunch. You train again until 12:30. You're ready to have 2 workouts in by 1, 2 o'clock. So Uriah kind of ran it like a Division I wrestling program. A lot of our core group of his fighters were all Division I, ex-Division I wrestlers, NCAA All-Americans, that came there to fight. And he just had a good system that they just excelled on.
When did you feel like you this is what I want to do, and did you feel like due to that point in time, because you were obviously coming in with an incredible set of tools, right? Obviously your amateur background, but again, going to Alpha Male, having all these guys who chasing titles, have titles, had won titles. To be around that, did you feel instantaneously, okay, I know I'm at this level, I just need to improve in this certain thing?
I've always felt like I've always trained at the level of my competition or training partners. Like if I'm going with a good guy, I rise to the occasion. And like I'm going with even when I used to wrestle as a younger kid, if it wasn't such a good kid that I'd wrestle down to his level. But like if it was a good kid, then I'd wrestle above. So like being there and just meshing, our skills together, sparring with these guys and training with them, I felt good. Like I felt amazing. Like that's what I needed. That was a huge confidence booster for me to be like, all right, here we are. We're doing this, and I know it's just practice. We're talking about practice, but it's nice to know when you consistently be able to show up and put yourself through those tests. Those are some hard rounds. Hard sparring rounds. I mean, you got Chad Mendez. You got T.J. Dillashaw. You got Chris Holdsworth. He was the baddest dude out there. I mean, that dude was just amazing.
Wow.
Amazing. One of the best all-around martial artists I've ever trained with in every discipline. He was a good wrestler, amazing striker, jiu-jitsu out of this world. But he was so smart with his fight IQ and how he had dissected, even just sparring. He was like, all right, he would come ready to spar. He'd film sparring and study it. And I remember he had this little laptop that he had clips of like GSP's jab to a single leg, and he had like 15 breakdowns, or GSP's, outside, double leg. He'd have all these, and he'd watch them over, and then drill them and put them into live action. And like I said, going out there doing that, like I felt good with everybody. But I remember Chris, man, he hit me up one time. Like he legit hit me up. He hit me with like a 1-2 step back uppercut, and then he did like a flying knee. Everything hit me. I was like, damn, I was like, I gotta take this dude down. So I took him down. Next thing you know, I'm fighting out of a triangle. So I get out of the triangle. Next thing you know, this dude's on my back. I'm like, who is this guy? I didn't know who he was at the time, and this is right before he won the Ultimate Fighter. He was getting ready to go for the finale. And I knew kind of basically everyone there, but he was kind of just, real quiet, stick to himself. And I was like, damn, like, I gotta get with this dude. I'm like, this guy was an animal everywhere. So I was like, I kind of, let me follow you around. Let me train like you. Let me just, take me under your wing. Let's go. And that dude works so hard. His work ethic and just his consistency and his mental fortitude to push through injuries and setbacks and where he came from, the story that he has was amazing. He was a big bantamweight too, so, and I was dropping back down the bantamweight, so he helped me out with nutrition and just training. I mean, I've never seen anyone train like that.
So it sounds like a true mentor.
True mentor. And, you know, his career was cut short in the UFC, ended up going undefeated, amateur, pro, Ultimate Fighter World Champion, the most dominant Ultimate Fighter champion to date. And then he became my coach. You know, he was there since my, second professional fight all the way up till I won a world championship. So we've had some just great times there. I mean, grew family like crazy. Like Chris was there. Like, that's one of the guys that I can always say, like, dude, like, I always will tell that story about Chris was the baddest dude out there.
I was going to bring him up too, because what a true story of seeing you from like this young guy who came in with so much talent and molding you into the champion that you became.
Yeah, you know, he's had a lot of life experience too with his upbringing and things that happened in his life, and really martial arts saved his life, you know, and he gave everything to it. I mean, he runs a amazing Chris Holdsworth Academy and Citrus Heights Jiu-Jitsu Academy. I shot killing it. I mean, just amazing, you know, what he's able to do, and he's still just giving back to the sport, you know, the martial arts that you know, helped him out. But just amazing guy all around, always there for you, shows up, you know, every camp, you know, busted up, beat up, and just ready to go. So we've had such good times with him, and he's getting ready to corner a lot of guys in the Miami card next weekend. I think Macy Aubrey's working with, so he's going down there. He still works with Darren Elkins and Josh Emmett and some of the alpha male guys, but he's doing his own thing now at his own academy, which I'm happy for him.
Oh, good. I didn't know he had his own academy. Congrats to Chris. When did you open that up?
I think right during COVID.
Okay.
Like COVID, yeah, I think like right during COVID. So he built it during COVID. So I mean, made a businessman. He was always grinding and hustling and doing his thing. We told him, like, hey man, like, you should do your own thing. You know, like, you should do your own thing. You're at this age, you're not gonna fight again. Like, build your own, business. You know, people are here. You're a great instructor, a great, a martial artist. You've done it your whole life. Like, what else you gonna do? So finally, he took that dive of faith and did it, and he has over 100, students. That are, he has a few black belts that he's had, ranked up since he's had them, a few belt ranks. So I mean, he's given out, I think, 2 or 3 black belts now, I want to say. But yeah, his black belts are tough too. I mean, they move exactly like him, and I mean, he has that style. He's phenomenal. So yeah, shout out to him.
Obviously, there's so many things that you mentioned right there, but. Since we're kind of talking about the coaching element, I kind of not putting the cart before the horse, but is that something of an interest for you later on after you finish and retired?
I didn't think that I'd ever want to be a coach, but I think moving out here and having to do my own camps and like prioritizing myself and what I need to do, and then helping out like some guys that come into, I might have a striking class tomorrow. I have a kickboxing class that I'm doing with my coach, and they come in and then I get it. Passionate about, like, showing, hey, maybe I look around the room sometimes and I'm like, oh, they're not doing the correct technique. Like, I just show them, and it's like, and I get excited to show them, and just, so yeah, it's like, what am I going to do, after I'm done fighting? I mean, I have a few things, but I've trained and been, into combat sports my whole entire life. So years ago, if you asked me that question, I would say, oh no, there's no way. Because I can't stand people that are weak-minded. Oh my gosh, I can't do it. I want to take the glove off every 20 seconds. Like, no, you got a 3-minute round, a 5-minute round. You get a break, you get a minute break, you get your water. Like, I just couldn't do it. So, but I think that's something that I might want to get into. That now that I'm more doing my own training and helping out a lot with some of the, fighters that come into town, and I'd kind of run my own classes. Hey guys, join in, and I kind of like showing stuff that works for me, or seeing it different, different type of attacks, from strikes to fit-ins, the whole martial arts. So yeah, I think I would like to maybe do something like that.
Yeah, I think for myself, just as you mentioned, I love helping people out. I got a lot of young guys that I've helped out, but I'd never be a coach, like a claimed coach.
Right, like I'm clocking in. Yeah, exactly. I'll come in, show some things, and help out. And if they wanted me to, be in their camps, or watch sparring, or get advice from. Like I would love to. I mean, how many kids are come from the same background that we did that just want a shot, just want to just need to be just seen. That's felt like that's what I was. I just needed to be seen. I just needed to be seen, just like you. Come from where you came from, came to the States, and made it happen.
Yeah. Talking of which, nice segue, by the way. We both have come from very humble upbringings, and both of us are truly earned everything that we've got today. It's not been given; it's been earned. We put ourselves in them situations, moving around, moving from our family or our creature comforts. And as you mentioned earlier, you don't like change. So for you to start off with where you are now, I want to talk about that though, your early beginnings and your upbringing, because that truly is such a big part of the Cody Garbrandt that I know and I've got to learn to love, because you truly have had, just no silver spoon, right? You've been scrapping since the beginning. But tell us about your upbringing, and I'd love to hear some of these stories that come from it.
Yeah, so my mother, was a single mother, and she raised us, at a young age. My brother is 10 and a half months older than me, Zach. So my uncle was in wrestling. So he'd go in high school. She would take us to the wrestling matches, both on our hips, and we'd go watch our uncle wrestle. So we were always in the gym. We always liked that. And we were rambunctious kids, and me and Zach always used to, I always remember fighting Zach or wrestling Zach, and usually Zach just kicking the shit out of me because he's always like 100 pounds bigger than me, always. Like there's baby pictures, and like he's only 10 months older than me. He looks like he's a 3-year-old to a newborn. Like, I don't know if he just stole my bottles or what. Like, I'm the smallest one in my family. So I think I blame it on Zach. But yeah, growing up and doing that, our father was in and out of prison, was never in our life. But my uncle, Robert Meese, is my real father's brother. He was our father figure, basically. He would come in, and he had a life sentence at 15 years old, got acquitted of charges 23 months later, gave himself to the Lord, found boxing. He would take us around. He would take us to the gym. I remember when he was fighting, always going to the gym, watching him train, and went to a lot of his fights growing up. I know when we were, 5, 6 years old. And so we was always just into the gyms and the wrestling, like something like we looked up to our uncles, like that's, our father wasn't there, so we looked up to our uncles. Uncles would take us to the gym. We'd remember go seeing them in wrestling, just osmosis, like seeing that. So I think that's what really sparked my interest in wanting to do something like that. But also the mother that I had, she got us into wrestling at a young age, and we were really good at it. We didn't know it. We had a Claymont novice a training thing. It was 1 week you trained, the high schoolers trained you, and then you were categorized in weight. And on Saturday, you would wrestle everybody in your weight class. And me and my brother would always win it. Young, we were 5, 6 years old. So we thought that was wrestling until we got more and more involved in wrestling. And then there was like, there's open tournaments. There's national tournaments. There's, tournaments all over the country. Like the wrestling was huge. And I remember we were going to our first, open wrestling tournament, just falling in love with it, like competition and just doing it, and then wanting to I want to be on Team Ohio. Like I want to be on this, to wrestle off and earn your spot. Like you said earlier, we've always earned what we have, and that's what I loved about wrestling. It's like, no, it's not. Sorry, we play Pee Wee football. Johnny's mom comes in and crying to the coach because Johnny's not the quarterback. Well, Johnny sucks. You know what I mean? Well, Johnny's like, but hey, his mom, the coach was like, well, I'm not getting paid for this, so all right, Johnny, you're the quarterback, and we go get our ass kicked every game. But that's another thing too. Our mom never let us quit any sport that we ever went out. She's like, listen, you're gonna finish this season. I don't care if you don't like the coach. I don't care if you don't start. You gotta work hard to start. All this stuff. You'll not quit in season. You don't have to go out next year, but you have to finish the season. So I think that what she instilled in us, the never quit, never give up, no matter what. Super thankful and grateful for her that she never let us quit, even when it was, I remember one season we didn't win a game of football. Our coach sucked. His son was a quarterback.
Of course.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, here we are, but and he played ran 52 counter every play. Everybody, it's Pee Wee football. I mean, it's not like we're playing in the NFL, but every coach has, can know what we're running. It was horrible. And but we didn't have to go out the next year, but we did. We stuck it out because we loved it. The next year we ended up going undefeated and win the Super Bowl.
Damn.
Yeah, so it was just like little things like that. So, her instilling us to never give up, never quit, no matter what, earn your spot. But that's what I loved about wrestling. I loved about fighting too. But she never really let us fight. Like, she didn't want us to box. She didn't want us to be punchy. I'm like, Mom, we were going. You know how many concussions I had in Pop Warner? I was 45 pounds, you know, in kindergarten, maybe even littler. Dude, I couldn't remember. I was getting so pissed off because the pants were too big, the pads in the head. And I remember we always had to run down these big ass trees and back, and I hated it because I'm a speed guy. I'm not endurance. Like, I don't like to learn long, especially with those pants in the head. She goes, and she brings it up all the time. She goes, you were just so little. You look at a little bobblehead. Your head was like going on, and he used to go down, and I'd always fall because the pants would. And I'd be pulling the pants up, trying to hold the helmet on, like the whole entire time. And then, you know, there's Zach. He's a brute. You know what I mean? Like, just it was great. So and also too, having a brother that was so competitive and just a couple of screws loose in his head that he was very mental about. Like, we don't. You know, I remember we were third grade, maybe fourth grade, and this coach made us do push-ups, and all these kids are crying, dropping to their knees, and Zach looks over at me, and he's like, "You don't drop down." He's like, and I'm like, oh my. So we're sitting there shaking. I mean, we had to do 200 push-ups. I mean, this is done in practice. I think the coach was just at it one time, and I just remember Zach saying, like, we don't drop, we don't give up, like, you know. But he was always that reasoning voice, like if you wanted to break or give up, I always had him. You know what I mean? Growing up, like playing football in the wrestling room. So having that never quit attitude, you know, was still in from our mom, but also having a brother that's like, hey, and like sometimes we'd go grow up street fighting, and he'd be like, dude, he's like, we never, you know, jumped or anything like that. He'd be at my fights, and I'd be his fights. And he'd be like, hey, dude, he's like,
street fights.
He's like, you ain't letting this dude beat your ass. We're like fourth grade, fifth grade. He's like, you're beating this dude's ass. Like, you're gonna fight. You're gonna fight me. I'm like, well, I don't want to fight Zach because I already know I'll get my ass kicked by Zach. So I got a better chance of this guy. You know, things like that. So having him as a brother and just always there. Even today, I mean, like I'm so super proud of him, the father that he is, and the man that he is, and everything that he's overcame as well from, you know, similar backgrounds and, you know, growing up how we did. He's an amazing father. So he'll message me all the time, and he's not very, you know, emotional or anything like that, but he'll just say how proud he is of me and things like that. That means the world to me, you know, hearing that from someone that's had the same upbringing as you and the same struggles, and, you know, and can see how hard it is that we work to get to where we're at, and also the opportunities that we still have lay in front of us.
Yeah. There's all the unseen things that you guys have gone through that, you know, people will see, as you mentioned earlier, they'll judge you on your last fight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the struggle you've had to come from, you know, Ohio to where you are now is one hell of a story. And you've been scrapping, as you said, since a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes for survival, sometimes just, you know, food on the table, you know, since a kid, still putting food on the table. That's, you know, that's it. And, like you said, just scrapping every day to get to where you want, but having opportunities, you know, and being judged off of your last fight, win or loss. But it's like, man, I'm a kid from Ohio that had a dream. I'm getting talked to flex. I'm gonna hear it, you know. I mean, like, it's little things like that. Like, I don't take for granted, and I never have, never will, you know, because I look at it like, what if I didn't do this, or what if I didn't do that? Like, where would I be at? You know,
where would you be at?
I have no idea. You know, it's a scary thought. You know, to be honest, I seem to think about that pretty often, especially when I'm in camp and the grind, and, you know, like, I chose to do this. You know what I mean? No one's putting a gun to my head saying, hey, get up and go do X, Y, and Z today. You know, it's just, you get up and do it. You know, some people, you know, and the same with you, you know, like, how can you do that every day, in and out, in and out? Well, for me, like I said, I don't like change. So my schedule is my schedule. You know, it might change because martial arts is, you know, one day we might have to wrestle and lift. The next day we have to do sparring and lift. Or, you know, so it's a little bit different each day, but my schedule is the same, you know, Monday through Saturday. You know, it's the same training schedule, same time, same kind of things that I'm working on, especially in camp, and you have, you know, opponent that you're working for. Now, outside of camp, you can do kind of different things, you know, but I like that. I like to have that set goal. You know, it's 6 weeks out. I have 6 weeks. I'm not focusing about fight day right now. I'm focused on, you know, being present here. I'm speaking to you. What do I have after this? Awesome dinner that my girlfriend's going to cook. Then I get ready for tomorrow. I have 3 training sessions tomorrow. And, you know, I just kind of take one day at a time. Because
Yeah.
like I said earlier in the podcast, I've tried to jump forward too much in life. Like, man, life's so beautiful. You got to be present. And I've constantly been reminded by a lot of friends and people that care about me, and working with a sports therapist for the last 2 years that I've been here, and the UFC has provided that.
Yeah.
Micah, he's great, ex-MLB player, just phenomenal guy.
What kind of things are you working on?
Man, honestly, it varies. You know, it varies on what we're working on. But for me, like, I was having a thing of not being present. You know what I mean? Like, walking to the Octagon, I'm like, oh man, I better win this fight. What about, we're gonna go do this. No, it's like, man, there's got another guy that's gonna try to kill you in there. You're like, be present. You know, like, and then just really trying to do that. And then sensories, like when you get in the Octagon, or you feel the canvas, or you feel like me. If you ever see my fight, I rub my finger up against the cage. And just feel that kind of little bit of vibration, and feel that that's something that kind of gets me grounded. Like, all right, we're here. So sensories, little things like that. Your coaches, your voices.
Yeah.
Like last time I was fighting, and I was like, oh man, I'm getting ready to fight. And I look in the crowd, I was like, oh shit, that's Theo Vaughn. Yeah, dude. I was like, hell yeah. And he's like saying some, the Theo shit. He's like, oh hell yeah, man. I was like, oh, and then I kind of like snap back into it, but I was like, yeah, it's Theo Vaughn. Hell yeah. Little things like that. You kind of just get I'm taken away by, but like, just to be grounded, just to be present, like thinking about the wins and all. You got 15 minutes. Who cares about this win or loss right now? You've got to be right now, because this guy's going to try to do that to you. So that's what we work on a lot today. Like I said, I did a heat acclimation to help get my weight down, to get ready for the stress of the heat. So a lot of people, we cut that weight and it's so stressful. That's why a lot of people fall out the next day from their fight, because they're sick and they can't regain that, because their body's not used to that stress and the sauna and the heat.
Tell us what you just done today.
So today I did a 30-minute bike ride inside of a sauna, and it was about 115 degrees, and I had to keep the RPMs about 120 average to burn. And so my nutritionist, Charles, shout out to Charles at the UFCPI, phenomenal, amazing. This is actually the first fight that we're working together with, and it's just been phenomenal. I mean, he gives all the diet plan, nutrition plans to my girl. She cooks and does it. So today was the heat acclimation, the first heat acclimation, because I've had the last 2 fights were pretty bad weight cuts for me. I lost my voice, my vision, my vitals were real bad, suffered. So it takes the guessing game out of it. So we go in there, you start, he's writing, down, like, all right, you started beating up sweat on your hands at 7 minutes in, and we're at this. So you're not just going in a sauna 180 degrees and sitting there and just frying yourself. So it takes a lot of the guessing out of it. Then you're checking my temperature every 5 minutes. He doesn't want us to get over 103, 102, 102. 101, 102 is where you want to stay at, because when you go over 103, it's more stress to your body, and it's like, all right, kind of like you get in that fight or flight where you start getting real dizzy, and that's how I was the last 3 hours of my last weight cut. Just, it was brutal. I mean, and then the next day I had no legs underneath me. My legs are gone, so like, you stress your body out so much, it takes so long to recover. Yeah. So doing it now, but also getting the reads, like, all right, Cody started sweating at 7 minutes in. He was at this RPM on the bike. He was, this temperature. So you do that for 30 minutes, and the whole time he's checking your temperature and making sure that it doesn't go over 103. So you're, box breathing. If it's starting to get higher, just breathing. And then my therapist was outside of the sauna, because it's a portable one, and he's talking to me, like, we're going, because I actually double booked. I usually have therapy every Thursday at 10.
Kill 2 birds
with
one stone.
So he's like, hey, I'm like, cool, yeah, I'm just going to just sweat here, and we were talking and just going through our therapy sessions, and just like keeping your mind off of being hot, being tired, being fatigued inside there. And it went by fast. And then you get it right out of there, and you go down to the hot tub. And hot tub, I'm not too sure how hot it was, probably 104, 105.
Well, the word right there is hot, right?
Yeah, hot. After, because you just got done in there. So I'm like, and the hot tub, I'm good. I have one at the house. I'm 10 minutes. I'm good. Kai wants to be in there till his skin's pruned, I'm like, let's go. I'm done. I'm getting hot. So it was like 30 minutes. I'm like, dang. So I'm sitting there talking and just doing that, checking the temperature. And that's when you start feeling like, oh, like the head. And it's more mental. You know what I mean? Like the last couple of pounds are all mental. So it's just getting that guessing game out. Like, how long do I have to stay in the sauna? So I was able to lose 3.5% of my body weight in that hour. So I lost almost 6 pounds in an hour from doing that. From doing that.
Yeah.
but it was good. But now it takes a guessing game. Now we have the reads where you stress the body. We might have to only go 15 minutes in there, take 5 minutes off 15, so it's not stressing your body to where you're only down on weight. You make 136 for, you might be hold that for 45 minutes or 30 minutes, wherever, till you go to the official scale, weigh in, and then you start hydrating.
Wow.
So it gives you more ample time to rehydrate, refuel, and be better for the next day.
This new version of the cut compared to the old, I mean, I'm sure you must be, there's just that extra added element to the whole fight when you have such a crazy cut too, right?
It does. It's a war of nutrition, no matter what. Like, you're fighting a guy, like, say if he has a bad weight cut, it might not show in the first round, but the second, third round, you see a lot of fighters start to fatigue and trail out, and could be a bad weight cut, be something that they ate, everyone wants to I made weight, and then they want to go eat all the shit they haven't had in their body for 8 weeks. I see people doing that all the time. Like, I cannot believe that they do this.
Destroy your stomach.
Destroy your stomach, your energy, for all that. So, yeah, I mean, and Charles and the nutrition team at the UFC, they do thousands of weight cuts a year, So they just keep getting data and better. It's amazing. It's right here. I literally go to the UFC PI and have everything there.
Just takes all the guessing game out.
All the guessing game out. Because, we've all done old school weight cuts,
What would be an old school weight cut for the audience listening? What is one of the most hellish ones?
Just lock yourself into a sauna and just sweat it out.
Stay there until you...
I was doing that last fight. Bryce Mitchell was in that damn sauna for 2 hours straight, and he'd come out,
God.
jump in the cold plunge, butt ass naked. The security had to come like, "Hey, Bryce, you can't be jumping in this cold plunge naked." You know what I mean? He didn't give a fuck. He was going in the sauna, and he had like 8 pounds. He would come out, and I think he did like 30 minutes, and he was like, "I lost 3 pounds." I was like, "Hell yeah!" I'm like, after 30 minutes in the sauna, I'm free. You're fried. He was in there for 2 hours just cooking. Wow. He made weight. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that's like old school shit. You don't have to do that. I think there's a lot of but a lot of us don't know. You know what I mean? Unless you come in here and I think a lot of athletes that are in the UFC should utilize the performance institutes. It's the best of the best. They want their fighters to make weight. They want them to be healthy. And they want them to go out there and put on performances. So they're not going to just have any Joe Schmo in here saying, "Hey, you're gonna do the X, Y, and Z, and it's gonna work." No, it's trialed and tested. Like I said, thousands of athletes use these kind of the same protocols.
I was over in the PI. Seen you, of course,
yeah,
2 weeks ago. Yeah, and I was blown away because it was the first time that I'd gone there. Obviously, I've been pretty much every room in the UFC HQ. Right. But then the PI, I left back for somebody to bring me in and introduce me to the PI, right? But then I done the celebrity sweat thing, and I walked in, and I was blown away just by how data driven they are. Everything in there, from I done neck strength to eye to hand coordination, right. Everything that obviously when you think back and you think, well, of course this all makes sense, but all under one roof and free for all the UFC fighters. Yeah. It's incredible, bro.
It's amazing. I mean, had that coming up in the UFC when I was coming up. I mean, I was fighting. Fight the fight just to survive until I was in the first main event. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these kids that are coming up, like, get free food, free PT, free strength and conditioning. It's not always free is good, right? We know that in our industries, but this is top level. This is top level. I tell a lot I brought up my buddy, Brazilian kid that's came into Alpha Male, and his girlfriend's actually in the UFC. I'm like, bro, this is where you guys need to be. Like, it's.
Do you sell Vegas like I do? I fucking recruit.
Honestly, I hated Vegas when I first moved here. It took me almost 2 years to finally, now, because I left my Alpha Male guys, my teammates, my coaches. That changed, what I mean? To where I was like, hey, you know what? I know what I need. I know what I need to get back to that mountain. I know I just need to put a plan in action, have people that believe in me as well, showing up. And it says, I found a great team. I got Mateus Knockouts, my striking coach. He's from Novia now. Ali runs the grappling practices. I got sparring partners, strength and conditioning. Gavin Pratt he's the head instructor at the PI. I mean, just the load that we do, it's amazing. Like, I'm lifting 3 days a week, hard, and doing 10 10 to 12 mixed martial arts sessions a week too. So that's about, 15 training sessions a week. With the injuries I've had, to still be able to push it like that, I haven't been able to do that since I was 23, 24 years old, 25. Wow. Didn't know any better. Didn't know I was sore and hurt and things were about to fall off, you know what I mean? Because you're young. You don't care. Yeah. But now, you're a little older and had some injuries and learned, experience. It's great. You can't always be redlining,
And that was your mentality for a long time.
I think that's everybody's mentality. We're fighters. It's like, we're just going to train harder. You're going to lose. I'm going to train harder. It wasn't that. I was skilled. I had this. I had that. Okay, hey, maybe it's the mental side. Oh, I started working with a mental coach. Oh, wow. Was present in the fight. Was calm and relaxed in the fight. And continue to work. Not just, one fight off. That's good. Work on it outside of just my fighting career. We talk about life and my son, my girl, like just everything. Life, because we're still, at the end of the day, people seem to forget we're still humans. We have we're blessed to have the skill set that we have and be able to accomplish things that we worked for. But still, at the end of the day, we're humans. We still have things that happen to us just like regular people do, just so that we have a platform that's shared on. People seem to forget that we're humans at the end of the day.
That's tough, and I've obviously been on the brunt end of social media, as have you too.
Yeah.
And having then to add that into the spokes of everything else that's going on, be focused, get everything else dialed down, make sure that you're turning a present for every fight, making sure that you're doing all these extra things, and then dealing with all the bullshit on social media. How hard was that for you to navigate, good and bad?
I've always kind of been like that, been in that kind of like I wasn't supposed to make it. My mom was a single mother with 2 kids as a teenager. Father incarcerated, uncles all incarcerated almost their whole entire life. Addicts on both sides of my family. I wasn't supposed to make it this far, So for me, it's just living on spare time, I feel like, But I've worked for it, and it came through a lot. But so for me, I've always had that, you can't do this, you can't do that. I even had my peers, my teachers saying, like, when I told them I wanted to be a fighter, I was boxing and wrestling, or I'm going to be a state champion as a freshman. Like, no one's ever done that, where I was from. I did it, because I believed in it, and I manifested it, and I worked for it. And I wasn't going to, have, my teacher say that I can't do it. Or, hey, are you going to make a living? It was never for making a living. It's because I loved it. I think a lot of people turn down their passions because it's like, is it going to make me, rich, or am I going to be able to live a good life? I didn't know. I just know that I love to fight. I know what the feeling it made me do, even when I fought, in the basement of a Mexican restaurant. It was my first fight. I loved it. I thought it was the most primal shit ever.
Jeez,
it was awesome.
Basement of a restaurant.
Dude, it was awesome. Yeah, Don Pablo's in Philadelphia. My first boxing match. It was awesome, man. I was like, wow, this shit. And that's when right there when I was able to finally fight.
Yeah,
like this is it. This is what I wanted to do.
Yeah. I know we did mention the social media side of things, but I just want to touch on that because the social media side of things is so rampant.
Well, it's anyone can get on and talk shit to you, but it's like, hey, are they going to say that shit to your face?
Of course not.
No, of course not. Yeah. And if they had the balls to say that and do that, power to them. I'm still going to smack them in the shit.
Have you ever got caught up in allowing social media to get into your head at all?
No, not at all. I don't. Honestly, I wish I didn't have to have social media or anything like that. It'd be great. I honestly would. Even to like my last 2 fights, I really haven't done a lot of media.
So by
podcasts, but yeah, we've been trying to knock this podcast out for 2 years. For me, I kind of got to the point to where you don't have to talk about doing things. You know what I mean? Like, this is great because we're having a conversation, but like, hey, this media MMA. Say MMA junkie says this, and then they screw your words around. It's it's not something I want to do. I don't need to. Like, I'm a former world champion. I'm a way back. I know what I have in this sport. What I do. I don't need to go out and do interviews to hype myself up or try to. I had probably a time in my life where I was needed that. Like, I needed to talk and feel stroke the ego, but. Give a fuck about any of that,
Different chapter.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely when I said I was losing, I had to talk myself into like, oh, you know, because I was trying to figure out what was wrong. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know. It was a mental thing. You know.
Yeah, that's tough though when you're kind of, especially as fighters, if you had a loss or two, and then
But I got knocked out 3 times in a row from being a world champion.
Yeah,
Thought I was living a nightmare. You know what I mean? I was going insane a little bit. You know, like, what am I going to do wrong? What am I doing wrong? I got to train harder. My body was breaking down. Train harder. Next time, well, it wasn't that. Mentally, I was like going to these fights like already defeated.
really.
Yeah, let's go on a barn burner. Let's see who wins. I got 50-50 shot. 50-50 shot's pretty good. You know, rolling the dice, gambling, but I know my skill at, you know, I just didn't want to be there.
Wow.
So by the time I got to the fight, walking out, wasn't there, you know. And still, some of the fights, these last 2 fights, same thing, man. I just started drifting away, intrusive thoughts, you know.
In the fight?
In the fight, walking down the octagon, until I was like, you know, in the mix of it, you know, we're fainting in front of me. We're trying to land the first punch, first strike, until the actual fight's happening. I'm like, all right, this is where I'm at.
How'd you catch yourself doing that though?
Catch myself being drifting off. I didn't know I was doing that, you know, or I knew that I was doing that. Oh, I'm having these same feelings, and maybe this isn't what I want to do anymore. You know, that's what went in my mind, always in my mind. Maybe this isn't for me. So I had no emotion. I wasn't excited. I want to be scared going into a fight. You know, I do. I want to be scared because when you're scared, you fear things. You fear what this adversary can do to you, or is prepared to do to you. But I was just numb. You know, I didn't care. Not care. You know, like when I won the world championship, it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. You know, like I fixated on being a world champion for the longest time. And it brought me through so many dark times, and it was great to say that I won that and see everyone happy for me and the people that were in my life, from, you know, amateur all the way up to being a world champion, and the people that, you know, came with me and, you know, infiltrated and filtered themselves in with the good notions and reasons being there was awesome, but it just wasn't fulfilling for me.
Why?
I don't know. I think because I focused on that, being a world champion for so long, that I didn't have what's next. You know, I didn't have, what was my next goal? What was my next thing? You know what I mean? Like, oh, wow, I did that. I did it with pretty much ease to be a world champion. Got in the UFC at 5-0. Obviously, when you're looking at it, I had a lot of setbacks, adversity that I overcome personally, but if you're looking at just my career, 5-0 in the UFC, 11-0 world champion, and the way that I was destroying everybody, I did it with ease. So it didn't allow me to really focus on what was next. And I got into the Ultimate Fighter, and then I ended up tearing my back a whole year out. Then I was rushing back to get into the fight because I'm the champion. I got to defend my crown. This is my shit, you know. And I didn't allow myself to manifest and visualize myself even in the Octagon with TJ, let alone in training camp, because I was so banged up. But, you know, the UFC was trying to make this fight happen for so long, and I ended up having to pull out, and then it was postponed. You know, I'll go to Germany, all these injections. I did so many injections in that 1 year just to get there. Even 10 days before the fight, they flew me out. I was in Sacramento. They flew me out here and gave me 8 epidural shots just so I could walk. That was 8 or 10 days before I flew to New York to fight TJ. I just, you know, but then again, here I am. I need money. You know, I have a kid on the way.
Life of
what am I
the
say?
Yeah.
What am I say? Not no. And I almost had that fight, you know. It was a horrible training camp. And not even the horrible training camp. I'm always way more skilled than these guys, 100%. It was the mental. Honestly, the mental thing.
That's crazy. Coming off, you know, that fight, that won you the belt. I felt like that was probably, in my eyes, and I say this to many people, it's probably one of the best fights I've ever seen. It's my favorite fight that you fought in. Just the flow, everything was there.
It was great.
And to hear that, it's wild. It seemed like everything, all the stars aligned that day. But then now to hear this, it's amazing just what you see and then what's really happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, it is, right? I even, you know, get taken back by it sometimes, you know, revisiting those fights or that rise, you know.
Yeah.
So it's it looks like I just feel like it's a different person. You know what I mean? It really was. I mean, I'm 32 now. You know, I truly do. It feels like a lifetime ago. I've experienced and done so much in my life, and I'm very grateful and thankful for. But yeah, that fight was awesome. That's something that, Dominic Cruz was amazing. I mean, honestly, he was so far advanced with his elusivity and his footwork and the way that he moved that no one was doing that, and no one had, the puzzle could solve that puzzle. He was doing that to everybody, and I was like, no, he's not doing that shit to me. He's not.
Bro.
He's not doing that shit to me.
Many say that's the best bantamweight fight in history, and many say also that's probably one of the best title fights in history, because it just seemed like you had the cheat code.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was great. I remember smoking DMT first time. I never did any mushrooms, nothing. I did it about a month before with my buddy Aubrey out of his advice at the On It. We were always sponsored with On It, and I was scared to death to do it. Man, I was so scared. I prayed. He's like, we did the saging down and all this, and we did like the, almost kind of like a shaman thing. I've never done it. Everyone else who was in the room did it prior, so I didn't know what was going on. And I took that first, he's like, hit it till something feels funny. So I kept hitting it. I'm like hitting it like 6. I'm like, dude, I'm not feeling anything. And I finally on like the 6th rib. Oh my gosh, I went to this different dimension. I just remember seeing me fighting Cruz, and just his movement and the way he moved and everything. I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like, and that was in my we would call it a trip. I don't know. Well, that's the only time I've ever done it. So just like out there, just blast it off. And so then we come back to, and we tell about our experiences and what we saw, what we did, and we do another round. Well, another round, I went back and I was more calm, relaxed. I had that feeling before. I'm like, all right, this is what it is. Like, and Aubrey always was telling us, like, hey, just know if something goes on in there, just know in 45 minutes we'll be in the kitchen laughing, eating snacks. I went there so many times, dude. I was so scared of that trip. I was so scared of that trip. Yeah. It was. I'd never done anything like that. Yeah. I don't know. Never mushrooms, nothing. Smoked weed. Ate edible. That was probably the closest experience to having an out of body was an edible. The
you
first time
weed,
edible. Oh, of course.
Yeah. I thought you said you didn't then. It's like, no, you.
No.
Talking about DMT, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I smoked. Yeah, no, I haven't smoked. Yeah, I've been off the ganja for a few weeks now. Usually when I get in a fight camp, I stop. It's just like a little, what are you going to sacrifice kind of thing.
I thought it would have increased because of the pain.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I like it because it helps me eat. Like for me, like eating all the food to keep the weight up, that's the toughest part.
That helped me too.
Yeah,
I love it. Break us some exclusives on you.
Yeah, it's the best. But yeah, so yeah, doing that, like having that, and then remember seeing the whole lead up to the fight, and having that DNT trip. I remember when I hit Cruz with that right hand, that dropped him, like it knocked him out. That was the same punch that I saw in my trip.
That's crazy.
Unreal. But I remember when I pointed at him, I was like, oh, like I was here before. Like I was like, just pointing at him, like that's the one. Like I've seen this before, right?
That was that, huh?
Yeah, that was that. Yeah, I switched southpaw and I caught his hook. He threw a hook. I caught his hook with my left hand and hit him with my right. And then I just went down. I was like, because I was like, holy shit, this is the punch that knocked out. This about knocked out.
Wow.
Like, so we're living it. Like, hey, this is it. Yeah. This is what we gotta do. We're gonna fight him for 5 rounds, and have fun and enjoy it.
Yeah, that. But do you think that DMT experience helped you?
No, because I visualized that so many times.
Okay.
Being a world champion. It wasn't even against Dom.
Yeah.
But really what made me sleep really well at night was the night before the fight, the weigh-ins. We had the ceremonial weigh-ins, and we kind of get in that little scuffle, because me and Dom didn't do any sit-down. Usually it's always, sit down. We didn't have that.
They kept you away from each other.
Away from each other, yeah, for sure. Right, And
sometimes not close. It's far enough, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I get that. I was 25 years old. He thought I was some young punk coming here talking shit, and like he was the champion. Like I would too. I'd be the same way Don was, But I was who I am. He was who is. We see each other a lot, at the PI we talk and things like that. Leading up after the fight, obviously. But that night before the fight, we got into the square, the stare down, and I saw him moving for we got in that little thing. And I saw the way he moved and the way his muscles twitched. And I was like, oh, he's too slow. You can see it in the thing. There's like a UFC countdown. I'm like, yo, you're too slow. You're too slow. I just saw his muscles twitch. And that was like, I know I'm known faster than him. I just got to, stay defensively sound and just have fun.
I'm very hesitant to say this, but I'll say it since Cody mentioned it. I've done DMT.
Did you cry?
No.
I almost did.
You cried?
I almost did. No, I remember. No, I was just so scared. I remember a couple of my friends were with me. Lance was with me. And Lady Danny Castillo and his little brother came in as well. And they've all done this shit. I have never done it. And I was hitting it. Aubrey says, "Hey, hit this until you feel funny." I'm like, all right, I'm telling you, I hit that thing like 6 times. And the next thing I look back, and I had this weird, summoning Anaconda of the South, all these animals, spirit animals, right?
Yeah.
Going to it. I'm like, all right, he's beating on the drum, Aubrey, boom, boom. So I'm like, oh shit, this is real. I think I have a rain stick that I'm just like, everyone has like a little instrument we're doing. Like, dude, I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, we're in a little room like this. I was scared, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was petrified of it. Like, what if I never come back from this? What if I'm just my brain's? I don't know. I didn't know anything about it. I just say, let's do it. And so yeah, it was fun. I was with them, but I remember I go back and I was just like, whoa, and it sounded like whoa. Aubrey turned into silverback gorilla, like swear, and he has a predominant smile, like Aubrey, And I was like, whoa, well, it's still him.
Well, your eyes open.
Yeah, my eyes were open. Oh yeah,
oh
yeah.
Right.
I was like, oh my gosh, and like he turned into that, and I laid back on this massage bed, but it had a heating pad on. I don't know why the heating pad was on. But I hear like Lance and Danny's voice, like they're like laughing, like they're laughing. They went to like school kid laugh, and I was like, oh my gosh! I was like, this is gonna like, and it was like, and then my inner voice was like, get ready for the ride of your life, and I was feeling like one of those kaleidoscopes.
Yes.
And I was like riding on the piece of the grain, like I was like, whoa, going down this, and I was on a
weird,
crazy, most vibrant shit ever that I'll ever experienced in my entire life.
I know.
And then we come back to after the trip. And we're all telling it, and like I'm like, everyone's like, listen to my shit. I'm a storyteller, dude. I'm like, I just went through. I might have saw God. Like I literally saw God. He sent me back down. Like whatever I was at, I was on the right path because wherever he sent me through, I was going through a sandstorm, like crawling, dude. I was crawling. Next thing you know, I see a tiger paw. I'm like, oh shit! And I see a black tiger, like jaguar paw, and it's like we summoned all these animals. I turned into these animals going through these storms.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable. And I'm telling this story, and like just sitting there, then we go to Danny. He tells his story. He's like, man, all I see black and gray. And I'm like, dude, I was dying. He was so pissed. He must have got the end of it. End of it. Just the shake of it. He was all pissed.
Oh, mine was, and I actually the reason why I done mine was, this is exclusive for me, by the way. I'm going to talk about this.
Tell it all.
I went to Mexico, and it was right before the Olympia, not last year, the year before last, and that ego, that guy, the one that we talked about, never give up, would have been still on that stage had I not gone.
And did the trip?
I had to kill my ego. And shout out to Sean Ryan, Vigilance Elite.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you know Sean Ryan. Great podcast, massive podcast, gets amazing guests. He was talking about it, and him and I had a friendship when we lived in Florida, and I hit him up about it. And he said, bro, I'm not going to tell you it's going to change your life, but it'll change your life. And what it's going to do is, you'll come back, and if you look at a clock, 12 o'clock being you're at 5 past. But over a compounded period of time, you'll see the difference. So I'll be honest with you, I went with a kind of a disgruntled attitude, like, what's this going to do, right?
All right.
Outside of me seeing kaleidoscopes. And I done the whole experience. It was a couple of day thing. I played for this private house.
Hell yeah.
The whole shaman and everything. And I went through the experience. I won't go into the details because it's your podcast, but I ended up doing the DMT on the last day. And this thing, well, the first time I done it.
You woke up naked?
Well, when did you go to? Give me your stories. No. The first time I done it, like you, nothing happened. I felt, but I also had like this out of body experience where I was talking in my present, but then it was myself was hovering above, and he was telling me like, you doing, you pussy, stupid shit. All the way in Mexico doing this stupid shit. And I was like, what do you think? What you boys would think in Wales doing this? Kind of not the drug, but like you're there and doing what, right? You did, and I had a blindfold, an eye mask on, and the guy was there like, hey, listen, this is the last of it, because it was pure DMT, and he talked me through, a great shaman, talked me through it. Okay, take it in, and because DMT is smokeless, right? As you know, it's just vape.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought if I took it in, it was going to make me cough, but he was just hold it in, and then, bro, they laid me back, and I just went, gone. And the only way I can explain it is I felt everything and nothing. I felt God. I felt I went somewhere and I can't even remember. You had visions. I didn't have it. I had them, but I couldn't remember when I came back to like, and I was only gone for maybe, they told me a few minutes. I wasn't like, how long were you?
Like 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, I was about 8. My body's weird. It just processes.
It's got to go through all that muscle.
Yeah. But when I came out, I felt so elated. There's this energy, this euphoria that comes from it. And obviously my goal was certain things, and now I can look back and people can say, oh, Flex is placebo, because you went out there with law of attraction mentality, things are going to change. It's like, no, because I know what I was waking up to and the demons I had and the trauma of what I would get out of training for a bodybuilding show. I would get it out to the gym. Sure. I was done with it. I was just done with waking up, like having that monkey on my back, and what pushed me to win, I wanted to get rid of because it was holding me back from other aspects of my life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Even being a better dad,
100%. Focus on that. Yeah, I think that for me, I didn't go in looking at anything, but I didn't know anything about DMT just from what my friends have told me about. And like, but I was at that point like, man, like I'm getting ready to fight for a world title. Like, well, let's see what's, a demon. Yeah, we all have demons, man. Yeah. Like I constantly, but when I was in that, in the second trip, I went the second time going through, I was more calm and relaxed, and it was like everything was slow paced, and like Aubrey was great. I mean, he talked us through it all. Like, hey, if someone comes into your trip, you try to speak to him, try to talk to him. Like it was I won't share Lance's experience, but he had a very, very, very good one too. And it was great, I feel like if people are listening to this, we're not saying go out and do DMT, it's going to be life changing, but it was something. This is my experience of it. I'm not saying everyone's going to have the same experience of it, but I felt enlightened that I was on the right path. Not that I needed that DMT trip to tell me that, but it was nice to be like, wow, like I was going through some things. Like I bowed my ego, and we're very, we're
ego driven.
Ah, man, we are, aren't we? We have to admit it, and you have to defeat the ego, and I think that's what I did. I was just calm, relaxed, but enlightened. And things that happened to me in that trip, some of it that I experienced happened 4 or 5 years later.
Shit, dog.
Crazy.
Like what?
Well, there was this crazy flower, this vibrant flower. It was like almost like shooting off sparks. And I was like, what is this thing? I was like kind of going up to it. And then it opened up, right? And my wife at the time ex-wife at the time, came out of it and had this little child running around. And I'm talking about hair to her, like to the ass, like long hair. I'm like, wow, oh my gosh, this little baby girl. Like crazy. Like absolutely unreal. You know what I mean? So like fast forward, a few years, she's pregnant, we're having a kid. Like the whole time, like, oh yeah, I'm like having a girl. I saw it. You know what I mean? Having a girl. We did the gender reveal. It's a boy. I'm like, oh, okay. And then she's like, well, it probably been could have been a boy with long hair. I'm like, all right. So the little things like that, like, I had the house and winning the world championship. Like I said, the fight that prevailed with Dominic. That was in the trip. But like I said, I didn't know anything about drugs. Like I'm not even just saying drug, DMT. Yeah. That experience. I thought I was enlightened. I would love to do it again. You know what I mean? Just knowing more about it, more about my body. Not wanting anything out of it, just to go and do it. But I feel like I haven't been at the right mind or even stage of my life to go there and do that again. I think that's something that you have to be like, hey, because I think it can go either way.
I was.
Yeah.
I was.
You was at that.
I was.
At that, you needed the turning point, right?
I was at a real, like a rough part, crossroad, put a good act on, But every day I was just like, man, I know there's more. And I just, God puts people in your way at the right time. Sean just dropped the podcast. I hit him up. No, I didn't instantaneously. This took a long time for me to. In fact, he kind of chased me up. Hey, have you gone yet?
Yeah.
And then I came back with pretty much everything I asked for.
It's great.
And I was able to sit at the Olympia weekend and
enjoy
genuinely,
it. Be present.
Be present.
Yeah.
Because there's so many similar characteristics just listening to you, and I'm nodding because even you were talking about not being present. I wasn't present for any one of my wins but the last.
Yeah.
Because I called myself and I said to myself, I have to be here for this is the last one I'm doing in the 212. Ended up being the last one I ever done. And I can remember the heat on the stage. I know I've talked about this in the podcast, but all these different things that were just part of
Senses.
data.
Yeah, sensors, yeah. You were present, so you felt the light, you felt probably the sweat, and all that stuff. I mean, that's helps you be engaged in the present, and that's what I've learned. And I've had that stuff. I've had that, but I didn't really know that I needed that until I started losing. So I started losing. I'm like, man, what's? I don't have these feelings. Like, man, I was scared to death going to every fight, the UFC walkout. Oh my gosh, my heart was racing. I was nervous, scared, anxious, excited, ready to go. Couldn't wait to get into the fight. Like, and then it was to a point where it was like, man, I had no feeling, no emotions, no nothing. Numb, just walking down there like, all right, just hoping for the best, and there's a lot of things that happen outside of life too that at that time where I was pulling me back, or I was just blinded by a lot of it, but distractions of and it wasn't that I became the world champion that I forgot who I was or what I needed to do. It was a lot, I mean, 25 years old,
being the
came
champion
from nothing, I went from unranked to world champion in the same calendar year. It was
that's wild, bro.
Yeah, it was awesome. I remember going and like, man, I can't wait to get a fight. Fighting at 8-8, 10-10. Like, oh, here's some new and I kept getting different contracts, and Dana calling you in the office and meeting with Lorenzo, Vitita, and Shelby. Like Sean Shelby. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. This is,
right.
Oh, it's great. I'm like, hey guys, I want to stay busy, and they kept me busy that year. I fought 4 times and became world champion.
That's a hell of a lot in 1 year.
It is. It came at a cost. It really did. Body broke down because I was constantly in fighting camps, and I think for the Takeo Mizugaki fight, man, that was probably my worst camp. But I knew, like, fighting him, like, I'm knock him out, I'm fighting for the world title.
And you did.
And I did, yeah. And it was honestly the worst camp that I had, body wise. Just everything was just. But I was like, hey, you got to go in there and just do the job to get it done, And then it was back and forth with getting the contract for the UFC or for the title shot against Dominic. But that was a good year.
How did you stay humble and driven during that period of time? Because obviously being so young, getting this fortune, sponsors, lots of attention, media coverage, people recognizing you everywhere you go, because you can't really hide what you look like with the neck tats. And
yeah, I know, right?
What was that like?
Honestly, that still to this day, like it makes me feel uncomfortable. You get those genuine fans that come up like, hey man, I really love how you fight, and you go out there and just put it all on. Like I truly like that. But some like people that get all crazy, oh my gosh, what are you like? You're at Whole Foods or whatever. What are you doing here? Like that makes me feel like I never pictured about being like that kind of figure to someone, or like they would to act like that. I just want to be the best in the world.
It's cool, I mean? Though, right?
It is, but sometimes it makes me just feel so like it gives me anxiety about it. Like I'm like, I'm just the same man. I'm just here getting groceries, like I don't know. It just I never pictured that, So it's for me. Like I love meeting my fans and people that truly support me for who I am and what I'm able to do inside. And if they're true fans, it's great. But I just always it took a while. Like I'd always go home and to Ohio, and that's where I was like, my quiet space. I remember going home one time, and this was kind of really what set in. I was at the gas station and ran into one of my teachers, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta get a picture." She goes, "My son's not gonna believe that you're here." I was like, "Oh," I'm like, "I grew up on Dawson Street, right down 3 houses down from you guys the whole time, crashing my bikes and getting all kinds of trouble." Like, what I mean, in my mind, I'm like, "Oh, this is like that's what I'm like." Oh, okay. What I'm doing is what I was able to do and where I was able to come from is I look at it motivated people and things like that. But I just I never liked that. Even like walking into like the arena. Oh, I hate that. I hate that. Yeah. I just black out.
Some people love that.
I'm in the cage. You know what I mean? Like I know some people love that shit. They're clapping hands.
Yeah.
My last fight, I hit a couple fans' hands. Like, oh, okay, let me try this out.
Sensory part.
Yeah, sensory part. Like, let me just try this. And then I was like, whoop. I was in the rafters. I was like, nope, come back to it. Like, go back to blacking out and just in the cage. It's uncomfortable. I've always been like that. You know, like we even walking into like a gymnasium, full of gymnasium or wrestling. I don't know. It's crazy. But when I'm in the actual action, I don't see anybody.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'll hear coaches and stuff like that. Maybe glimpse of like, you know, Theo, you know, little things like that. But, you know, I just like to be in there.
Yeah.
Like, I could fight in front of nobody. I just like to be in my mind. You know, I like to be in my mind.
Did you like the Apex?
I love the Apex.
Because
I love the Apex when there's no one there.
yeah,
That was awesome. That was like, man, I'm grabbing 3 of my friends from
was
school, grabbing 3. He's got his 3 friends, and we're fighting. And that's it. You know what I mean? That felt like old school, just prime. I'm like, man, I felt like I was
back in that Mexican fucking restaurant.
Yeah, dude, honestly, it was like, this is some primal shit. You know, this is cool. This is, it was awesome. And then the next time I fought there at the Apex, it was packed. And you could not hear anything. It was packed like sardines in there, you know, like it was so loud. I think it was louder than a lot of the T-Mobile fights because it's a smaller space.
Acoustically,
dude. Yeah. I mean, I just remember the Rob Font fight, I was not my best performance at all. And I could not get my body for the life of me to get going. And I kept hearing my coaches do this and this. I'm like, this dude's hitting me. I'm like, dude, just hit me enough, hard enough. My legs are dead. And that was my first fight back from COVID. And like, I was just, dude, I felt like I was breathing through a straw. Yeah. Like after the first round, I could not believe how I've never been physically fatigued like that in my entire life of doing anything, training, nothing. I couldn't believe it. I got to fight this guy for 4 more rounds. You know what I mean?
That's the first.
Yeah, that was my first fight. Yeah,
that was
that was the first round. The first round, I walked back to him like, thought I was just like lactic acid build. I'm like, oh man, but it was pretty sick going into the fight.
Was that COVID?
It was my first fight back from COVID, but I wore that damn whoop strap, the whoop, and I was like, man, I'm not gonna check it. I felt like shit. I'm like, I'm not gonna check it. And then the curiosity killed the cat. I check it right before I'm getting ready to go to the arena. And it was like 14% recovered. HRV was low. I'm like, oh hell no. I'm like, so I quit Whoop. Right after that, I was like, Whoop, I'm never doing that ever.
Wait. If Whoop wants to sponsor him, he's open for entertainment.
They gotta throw me at least 6 figures, something crazy. I have PSD,
shit,
nightmares from that. No, but so then I was like, all right, it's all right, good. But now it felt good. And after that first round, I could not believe how and Rob Font, he's a great fighter. Comes from a great camp. But yeah, it was just crazy fight.
You were talking about your friends and stuff, and bringing your friends to that particular fight or Apex fight, right? I have a lot of friends that back home, they've known me. I want to say I've never changed. Obviously, there's a spotlight on me, and you change for the spotlight, right? But the core of me, I've not changed. Yeah. But I've also, and I'm sure you'll attest to this because we come from small towns. A lot of my friends, unfortunately, the ones actually were in school that were meant to succeed ended up not. Yeah. They got caught up. Yeah. Some in jail passed away. Yep. I'm sure that's the same feel, right?
Yeah, it's like I said, I've not changed. I have the same friends that I go back. Me and my girl just went back for Christmas for 2 weeks, and I never go out. But I was like, my brother was in town, so we went out to this little bar, and everybody and their brother was out. I just kind of stuck to the wall. I don't drink, so we stuck to the wall. Everyone coming up talking, and everyone was like, she swears, she's like, man, everyone that came up had a story, a fight story. Yeah. And it was the same, it was different fight stories. I'm like, that's what we did. Like, we had nothing else to do. Yeah. We fought and fought and fought. That was it. And so it's, my best friends I've grown up with since I was in grade school. I still I always see them. I always go and see them, grab lunch, grab coffee, and they're doing well. They're doing amazing. A lot of my buddy AJ, he fought with me growing up with my uncle, so he's done that. And now he's a shop teacher at a vocational school, and he's a junior high coach, wrestling coach. So yeah, he's doing good. I always go back and see those guys. But yeah, like I said, it's a lot of them I grew up with are dying, incarcerated, hooked on pills. Man, meth and heroin is really bad, and it's sad to see. Like, damn. And I have Facebook, so like a lot of my Facebook, my just Facebook, on my athlete page, is all like my just people that I went to school with, and I'm like, I go through this sometimes, and I'll tell my girl, I'm like, man, I just can't believe how some people live and what they say on here, and just like it's like kind of like it's just crazy to me, it's like that's why I feel so blessed every day and so thankful. First, that God put a dream inside me and let me dream that and then vision and then have the courage to chase it. obviously with his help, because there's sometimes, man, I was down on my knees crying, God, please help me out of this. Show me the way. Trust me. Like, just show me, like, I'm on the right path, you know? So yeah, I'm just thankful for just having that dream and then having the courage to chase it, you know, because some people don't even have dreams. Isn't that crazy?
It's
like,
crazy.
They just like, oh, we'll just go through every day, just kind of,
content.
Content. Yeah. I never was content. I always wanted to be, I didn't know what I was going to be, you know?
But you knew that you were going to be.
It was just something.
Better.
Yeah, something. Yeah. I wanted something. I thought I was going to be a wrestler, you know? Obviously I was going to be a football player. So yeah, that kind of, I love sports. I loved it, you know, something. But then fighting was like, all right, and then my weight classes, and then it was like, I want to be in the UFC. But I was like, 155, them guys are cutting from like 200 pounds. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm 150, 155 soaking wet. And then that's when I was like, WC. That's why, then, you know, Uriah was the, you know, I used to watch his YouTube channel. Dude, his YouTube channel back in the day. Oh, yeah? And, like, the TAM radio, they had, like, the podcast. And, like, this looked like they had, trust me, I didn't know Sacramento was Sacramento. I thought California was California. Dude, I'm moving out to California. I'm Ohio. I'm moving out to California. I'm fucking going to learn to surf. I'm going to the beach every day. I went to Sacramento. It's the armpit of California. You know what I mean? It was like no beaches, nothing. I love Sacramento. It was awesome. I would live. I would move back there in a heartbeat if I had the chance to, for sure. But he definitely I don't know, catfished me on California, Sacramento for sure. He don't even know how to surf. He body surfs. He took us to Point Arena one time, and is when he was going up to fight Frankie Edgar. So he had a bodysuit that he normally is, but he was gaining weight to go back at the featherweight. Oh my gosh, it took him literally an hour to get into this wetsuit, and it was freezing cold. I'm like,
just give up.
And we wanted to go. Like, we were sitting on the beach, and we can only throw the football for so long. And then we had our coach Fabio was playing soccer. We was kicking the soccer ball. I'm like, all right, I'm kind of, after an hour of this, I'm ready to go. This dude went out there looking like a fat seal. Dude, I'm telling you, looked like a fat, just, if I was a shark, eating his ass. Pause. He's body surfing on the waves in the suit, all like, he's going up, like, just body. I'm like, you surf? He's like, no, I'm body surfing.
Oh my God. Why did I show up?
Out there by himself for 2 hours in literally freezing cold water, looking like a seal.
Did you go in?
Hell no.
Oh, hell no.
No way. No. It was freezing. It was freezing cold. He had a wetsuit on to keep him warm. Yeah. That took an hour to get on. But yeah. So yeah, he bamboozled me into thinking that's, so I was out there. I'm like, well, in California. I'm like, hey, get out there. I'm like, where's the ocean? And like, oh, dude, you're in Sacramento. We got the river. I'm like, oh man, I got the river back home.
Yeah, I could stay back. No. The only reason I mentioned about back home, and obviously I know the podcast. What we at, Tyus, the podcast?
119.
Oh, damn. There we go. We'll land the plane soon.
Killed it.
Because obviously when I go back home, there's a lot of guys that will say, like, you are one of the beacons of hope for us. And I'm sure you, and I know this for a fact, go back home, you've got all these kids that are wrestling, obviously your uncle's in high school teaching these kids as well, but all these young kids are looking up to you, being like, wow, he made it from this town. I knew where he used to live, on this street. Yep. And here he is, you know, top of the tree. It's a massive inspiration. And you really, whether you think about it, I'm planting that seed in your head, because that is, honestly, only because I have a very similar upbringing. Teachers told me I was going to make it. There was only one life for me, and that was military, or, well, jail, or professional rugby. Didn't do all three, as you can tell. But it was also, again, the fact that I didn't have anybody that kind of made it out of my town. They played professional rugby to a high standard, but there was nobody that came over to the United States and became something. Yeah. So I didn't know, like you, I was on a mission, on a plan, but I knew that I was bigger than what I was being told. Right. So you going back home and seeing all these guys, friends that you say they're complacent. But again, you're the stories, and I'm sure there's these mythological stories that have grown tremendously from the original fight you had at like 12 years old.
Let the ego go.
Yeah, I know.
Show off to my girl.
Yeah, but that's amazing, man. And in kind of ending the podcast, we cannot not talk about the good dad gang, as I fucking text you. There's I message you probably more than anything about stuff on Instagram when I see you with your boy. You guys are like, you know, linked to the hip. He goes everywhere with you, and you're such such a good dad, mate. I love it. I love watching from afar when, you know, you're at different places where I've seen you at the same time, Project Wellbeing, and your boys there, and you're off being a savage, and then you come back, and then you put your dad hat on. Yep. It's amazing, mate. I love it.
Yeah, Kai's at the Project Wellbeing marking up the white couches. But man, the guy got to take his shoes off. He got the black marks everywhere. I'm like, why are you getting a white couch? You know, he was so pissed. It's Italian leather, man.
Oh man! All right, perks of bring the champ in. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, how having Kai changed your life?
Man, it's so much. I mean, as a father, you can tell. You know, you can have the same feelings. But for me, I didn't have a father in my life, so I was like, man, I didn't want to miss anything. Remember we were in the hospital and the nurses were trying to change his diaper. I'm like, oh, I got like, they're like kind of looked at me all like kind of sideways, like, that's my son. I got like, I didn't want to. I gave him his first bath in his little. They gave us a little plastic bin, like they have all this stuff. I gave him his bath. Like I didn't want it to be hands on.
Wow.
I remember I just going in there. Sometimes he'd be sleeping in his bassinet. And I'd go and check to see if he's still breathing.
I do that.
I'm like, okay, all right, I can go back. Yeah. Oh yeah, man. It changed a lot. You know what I mean? Especially as I was a world champion at the time, so I was like trying to balance that. Really trying to balance the being a father, being this world champion, trying to defend the title, trying to win the title back, and being present. It was tough, man. And like I went through like that period of being numb, going to the fights because I just like, man, I was worried like, what am I gonna win this fight? How am I gonna, what's gonna happen? Like I have a son now. Like I have to, and it was tough, man. I failed a lot. At a lot of things. But one thing the first time that I held him in the hospital, I said to him, I said, Kai, I'm always going to be here for you. Made that promise to him, and I always will. And I cried a little bit, I was like, it was awesome and exciting. So I remember the first time holding him, skin to skin, I was like, man, I just had a little conversation with him. I just kind of like, I couldn't hold it back. I just freaking started crying, and I was like, man, like, Kai, you will never have to worry about where your dad is going to be at. If he loves you, he's always going to be proud of you. He's going to teach you the way. Like, that's something I always wanted, you know what I mean? Luckily, I had a great mother that, went above and beyond for us. But, like, to be able to have that connection with my son, that's why I felt like it put in a lot of perspective, too. Like, man, like, how can I have anger or resentment or any negative feeling for a guy that was never in my life? I just felt sorry for him, you know what I mean? And I was like, man, why do I feel sorry for him, but he doesn't get to experience what I'm experiencing right now? Just that skin to skin, holding your son, watching your son, all the stages, of crawling, of little things like that. Like I was like, man, and I still to this day, he's about to be 6 in less than 2 weeks. I still think of that. I'm like, man, you miss out on so much. If you're not there for your children, like I feel sorry for the parents that have kids that aren't involved or don't want to be around them. Like I could never imagine not being there for my son.
Was that because your dad was not there for you?
Wholeheartedly, had to be. You know what I mean? Wholeheartedly, I was like, I was like, how could you? This is half you, and to this little person that needs you to, teach him life. It's like, how can you not want to be in this child's life and see this beautiful human grow and learn and first step, everything, man. I love it. Like, obviously it's boring the first few months, it's boring just to eat, sleep, but like shits, blowout shits, changing diapers. Oh gosh.
Going through it now, man.
Oh man. So the travel on the airplane the first time, he shit through 4 diapers, and it was like going and changing that little bathroom. Oh, just little things like that, his first tooth pull out, just awesome. Now he wrestles. Like I love it. I can't get enough of hopefully the Lord blesses me with many days on this planet for him and us to just experience so many memories together. That's what I pray for. Everything else is just a plus. I want that. Everything else that God gives me and lets me see and do, just let me be in my son's life to where I can have a positive impact on him, to where he can go throughout life knowing, his dad loved him and he's proud of him and, taught him things,
What kind of things do you install in him at this young age?
Same thing that my mother did, you know, never quitting, never giving up. I remember at wrestling practice a few months ago, they were doing like this wrestling stance. You're staying in wrestling stance. It's tough. I mean, for me, even to hold it for 3 minutes is tough. And I see it like, all right, the kids were coming out of their stance. So I was like, all right, coach says, you got to stay in your wrestling stance for 3 minutes, starts the clock. And all, 5, 6 year olds. They're like, oh, man, they're in their stance. And I see Kai's little legs and arms just shaking, and it's only a minute in. And it's shaking. I'm like, wow. And I see some of the other kids dropping or laying up against the wall or crying. And I just see Kai kind of looking at me. And I'm just like, yeah, I kind of just let him do his own thing. And so then he got done, did it all, didn't stop saying stance. After practice, he said, Dad, he's like, oh my gosh. He goes, that was hard. My legs were shaking. I was like, yeah, that's good, Kai. I said, things that you're going to have to do in life that you like to do. I said, do you like doing wrestling? Do you like coming here? He's like, oh yeah, Dad, I love it. I was like, things that you like in this life are not going to be easy. They're going to be like that. They're going to be hard. You're going to have to push through those hard times. But hey, say what? You didn't quit. You didn't cry. You didn't get out of your stance. You did it. You pushed through it. You got better today. So just little things like that, and that's why I love, I want him to be a great wrestler. I want him to be a great athlete. It's something that I was, and I can bond with him over that. But if he's not, he's not. But I want him to go in there and have what it taught me, the dedication, the consistency, the struggle. When things are tough, like that sport is a very tough sport. I had my brother the whole time, You're not touching your knees on the push-ups. We're doing 200 push-ups. That's tough.
They say wrestling's top 5 hardest sports to do.
Definitely. I would have to say. I mean, there's a lot of tough sports in it, but wrestling is especially at the young age. All those kids and just where you're at with your body. You're still trying to develop in your body. But yeah, just show it like that to me was I was proud of him. And then his first takedown he got, because he was getting his ass kicked. He goes with a lot of the coaches' kids that go, a couple times a week. Kai just goes once a week, and sometimes he takes some time off. We took a couple months off from my fight, and then we went to Ohio. He got sick. I got sick. But he got his first takedown. I wasn't there. His mom filmed it, thank God. But it wasn't that he got the takedown. It was just he kind of looked over at his mom and just the smile on his face. I was like, man. Yeah. Awesome, dude. Because he kind of got, he was kind of getting pushed around a little bit, and then he saw a little bit of aggression out of him. And he wrestled hard, got and slammed. And then he was telling me how he slammed the kid down, and I just kept going down. He goes, I didn't think I was going to take down, but I got the takedown. Yeah. He goes, well, I got the takedown, and he was just so bummed. But seeing in the video, I just kept going with the little video, just to where he got the takedown, and then he kind of looked over at his mom and smiled. I was like, man, that kind of choked me up a little bit. I was like, that was awesome, because I remember when I would get my first takedowns, or I would, he's fearful of losing. You know what I mean? Even if he's super competitive, and so am I. I ruined family game night because Uno attack. Yes, Uno attack, dude. I wanted to burn my whole house down. I don't know how old I was. I had the last Uno card in the Uno attack. Just shuffled 20 at me. I flew. Oh man, mom whooped my ass. Yeah. I don't know how old I was. It was bad. So we couldn't play family games because I was too competitive. I hated to lose. So Kai's the same way. If I raced him up the stairs, I'm like, first one up the stairs, or last one up the stairs is rotten egg. And then he'll be like, oh, it's not a race, Dad. And he'll be pissed that I'm racing. So I'm like, or he'll change it up. Well, last one upstairs wins, Yeah. So he's so competitive. So he's has these little conversations. He's like, hey, Dad. He goes, what if I don't get the takedown? Or what if I'm like, Kai, it's fine. As long as you wrestle hard, try your best, you're going to have those days where you're not going to get the takedown. You're going to get taken down. You're not going to win. You don't win every day in life, but if you stay consistent and keep going, you're going to get better, and then you're always going to be win. So it's good. It's good to have those thoughts of I don't want to lose, but don't let it cripple you not going and just having fun and enjoying it. That's why I always want to remember, just enjoy it. Even to myself too, why do I do this? Because I enjoy it. At the end of the day, I enjoy it no matter how hard it sucks. No matter how camp is. I'm in the grind of it right now. It sucks, but I love it.
You learn. You still love it.
Oh, I still love it. Gets me up every day, and I get to chase a dream. I got 6 weeks to go out and have an opportunity to change my life even more. It's my Super Bowl's in 6 weeks. So I work for it, put everything into it, and it's the highs of highs and lows of lows. You know that when you win, it's awesome. When you lose, it's man, it's tough. You gotta do some soul searching.
Yeah.
You know, you have to definitely do, and you have to have good people around you. I think that's what I really experienced a lot, is like having people that truly care about you, win, lose a lot, you know, draw, you know, and just be making sure you're okay after it, you know, and hey, get the next one.
I should have asked this earlier. I don't want to prolong this any longer, but this is very interesting to me. After a loss, you go back to the changing room. What is that mentality like back there then?
Ah, man, it's losing sucks. I mean, I hate to lose. I'll take it. You know, I'll take my loss. But if you like losing, man,
Yeah, you're in the wrong fucking
you
spot.
don't win.
Yeah.
You know, you're not a winner. It's tough, man. You get back there, and for me, it's like I'm bummed out about it. But then I look around, I'm like, man, I see not only me, but all my coaches and my teammates. They put in a lot of work. They put in a lot of dedication. They wanted this more. My uncle, you know, my mom always is. She's kind of a stone cold killer, man. She's always just like, you know, win, lose. You know, she doesn't show too much emotion. You know, never did. She always gave us tough love growing up. She had to be our mother and our father. So, you know, but still, I know that feels like. You know, it's like, man, I feel like I kind of let them down. You know, at times, and I let myself down. And then always the hindsight's 20/20. We're like, I should have did this, should have did that. It's just so much emotions off of a loss. You know what I mean? Like, but I've learned to you know, never be too high off a win and never be too low off a loss. Trying to get balance, you know. Oh, win. All right, we're going. You know, those guys that win their fights and they have 6 after parties and you don't see them in the gym until 3 months later and they're still throwing parties and you know, it's like, dude, you want to fight.
Yeah.
You know, that's the extreme. And the guys that are so embarrassed after a loss that they don't come back to the gym either. They're just like, no, the confidence is down. You know, it's tough. You know, and you have to find that balance. Like, how bad do you really want it? You know, I look at it like this, Felix. If the worst thing that happens to me in my life is I lose a UFC fight, then I live a damn good life. There's so many people in the world, hundreds of thousands of millions probably, that want to be in the UFC just to say they fought in the UFC. You know what I mean? Like, that's the worst thing that happens to me. I remember I won the world title, or when I lost the world title, I had to go do all the media. I just got, you know, knocked out by TJ in Madison Square Garden. It was like crazy fight. I went there, did the media. I was kind of like not in my right mind still, but I was like, you know, this is what I have to do. This is what I'm going to do. I can't remember any interview, a question to ask me. So I was like, you know, I'm getting this back. I don't know when, you know, still chasing it years and years later. But it's, you know, one of those things that it's tough. Just find the balance, you know. I can't hide forever. I felt lost, you know. So just finding the balance with everything in life, too. But definitely wins and losses, dude. It's the highest of highs and lowest of lows. I mean, you can never feel so high off a win, and there's honestly never feel too low off a loss, you know. But a lot of those things, like, I find, like, who you're around, who's in your circle, you know, my son, like, little things that I look to, I'm like, hey, like, this window closes. And once this chapter of my life's over, it's going to be, you know, so do the best I can, enjoy it, you know, just be present. Like we talked about earlier, being present, because it's going to be gone. You can't fight forever. You know, I'd love to, you know, but Father Time gets us all.
This was a chapter.
Yep.
And as you're still in it and going to win it again, you're doing it with a completely different mindset now. You've experienced loss. You know the hardship of that. You've probably sharpened your team around you because you know who's really there and who isn't. And also, you know, you've got this incredible foundation that really wasn't there when you won the first title.
Yep.
So you said whole different animal on this chase now, more calm, collected, and probably somebody that just wants it more than ever, I would assume, right?
Tasted it. You know, when you taste blood, you want more. You know, it's like, I've been to that top of that mountain, and it's like, I know what it takes to get there. You know, now I gotta know what it takes to stay there. You know, so that's the difference of this path. I know what it takes to get there. Now I got the ingredients to keep it there. So that's where one fight at a time, not looking over anything. But this fight, you know, April 13th with Davison Figueiredo, I am ready for war. He calls himself the God of War, but I'm no love. So it's going to be a clash, and I'm so excited to open up this card.
And certainly no love will be shown.
That's right.
At that fight.
Yeah.
My man, I really appreciate this podcast. I know it's been a minute in the making, but Thank you for just being so honest and open. And obviously, you mentioned something since you broke one, story on there. I thought, you know what, I'll do an
That's the first time I
exclusive.
did too.
Really?
I mean, I told my friends and stuff like,
Yeah.
and they was like, oh, I've never smoked DMT, but hey, like it's
There we go.
2024, man.
I know.
Let's go on a trip together. Let's go.
After the fight. Let's go. Cody No Love, my friend, thank you so much. Straight out there. Subscribe, like, make sure that you're supporting this guy. Cody, what's your Instagram? And
Cody_no love. Follow me at that. Yep. YouTube will be coming soon. Hopefully, get that going. Maybe a podcast too. I don't know.
I know you. I put up a
I'll get that book off. Get that podcast for dummies book.
After yes.
Probably Flex can do it, huh?
Shit. I don't know, bro. I just do what I do. Nobody can understand what I'm talking about anyway. But man, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for the next chapter. And who's somebody who has been following you for a very, very long time. Believe it or not, I knew of you. Should have said this right at the beginning of the podcast. You were sponsored by a supplement company years ago, right?
Yeah, so that was Blackstone. Yep, Blackstone.
And these guys came to me and asked me, what do you think of this fight? I was like, oh, I know who this is. Yeah. And you only had the neck tat at the time.
Yeah.
You didn't have all the other tats.
I think I was either 1 or 2-0. Like I just got out the alpha male.
Yeah.
Because they used to send me all the supplements.
Yeah. And I had my Cody No Love t-shirt.
Yep.
And I remember actually another side story, not prolonging this podcast. Sorry, I'm prolonging this podcast to everyone in the room. But I was messaging you, if you remember, in Germany. You were really the one that planted the seed about getting stem cells.
Yep. Yeah. Honestly, I've been great with stem cells. My body receives them well, and they heal me pretty good. So
yeah, me too. And again, I know I'm not prolonging this anymore. We can do another podcast at another time.
Part 2 coming soon. 2 years from now.
2 years from now, when you set up your YouTube again, by the way.
On my podcast, yeah.
And but straight out the lair. And listen, guys, I truly appreciate this incredible champion. Champion not only with a belt, but also in life, and more so than anything else. One of the best dads that I'm privileged to see as a high caliber athlete. So from me to you, my man, I truly appreciate it. And we're going to see you win that belt back. But first, we got to go through April 13th, and it's going to be that whole new version of you, my man.
Excited.
Take care. Straight out of there, we are out.